Now, te is actually, or udun-di is what we're doing here now. We're calling it te in action, but it's actually udun-di in action. So I would like to make that clear. This is the old palace hand, the te that was used, or the tea that was used in the royal palace by the Okinawan samurai. And believe me, the Okinawan samurai were an extremely powerful class of people, extremely well versed in martial arts, as were the Japanese. Just as the Japanese were, so were the Okinawans, or also called the Ryukyuans. Now, their main weapons, of course, as in the Japanese, were the bladed weapons, especially the sword. This is a bokken, but it's based on the Japanese full-length sword or katana. The Okinawan sword was actually one-handed because after 1609, Okinawans were not permitted to carry swords. They could own swords, but they couldn't carry swords around the streets with them. The Satsuma samurai could. So the Okinawan sword was about 60 centimeters in length, and it was one-handed. Therefore, it could be easily concealed up a sleeve and could be carried around without being noticed. It was never thrust through the belt, of course, as with the Satsuma samurai. They also had the knives, which they concealed and carried around with them. They had firearms, of course, guns. So you must imagine that there was an unarmed group of very, what shall we say, privileged people who were not allowed to carry swords with them. And there was a group of, shall we say, colonial overseers who were allowed to carry swords. So basically, the Okinawan police at the time had to deal with rowdy Satsuma samurai who would be wielding their swords. So, of course, te developed from a battlefield weapon into more of a self-defense type strategy after 1609, between 1609 and 1879. So we'll look here at udun-di in that period and before then was primarily a weapon-based, especially a bladed weapon-based system, and therefore you needed defense against bladed weaponry. And not only bladed weaponry one-to-one combat, but bladed weaponry of a group nature whereby several attackers are coming at you at once. This is recorded very well in many of the dramas and operatic plays in Okinawa, where these have been passed down intact to the present day. So therefore, to defend yourself against just a single person with a bladed weapon, what is the first thing you must do when that attack happens? The first thing you must do is avoid. Now, there's no way I can block that. That's a sword. If I try and block it, I cut